Hey everyone, it's Sheri Vegas and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can create your own statement earrings just like this. They're super on trend. I am using polymer clay and resin to create these beautiful pieces. So if you want to find out how to do this, stay tuned. I'm going to start working with the polymer clay element of my earrings first. Now, because it is winter here, it was quite cold, so I find heating up the polymer clay helps a lot before I start working with it. And I just do that by putting it in a little bath of hot water while it's obviously in a plastic bag so it doesn't get wet. Now I'm mixing my two colors together. I'm not doing this in any particular way. I'm literally just smushing them together and combining them and then rolling them out because I don't want necessarily a marble effect, but I do want to have both colors and to get some sort of pattern through it, but without it being too marbled. Once you're happy with how your colors have blended together, then all you need to do is grab a rolling pin and start rolling out. I found that this was easier to do on some non-stick paper because I did find that the polymer clay can stick to the bench top a little bit, so I just did this on some grease-free paper, and I'm just rolling it out enough that I can obviously get two of my patterns on my polymer clay area. I decided that I wanted to go for a tropical leaf theme for my statement earrings, and I did look around to see if I could find a pre-cut shape already, like a cookie cutter, in the design that I wanted, but unfortunately I couldn't. So my next alternative was to draw it up myself and cut it out on some paper, so that way I can lay it down on my polymer clay and then cut around it, so that way I can get the design that I am after. I used a Stanley knife to cut out my design, but I would recommend getting an X-Acto knife, just something that's a little bit easier to use. I found the Stanley knife was just a little bit too big, but I still was able to cut it out. But obviously a smaller knife would work a lot better when you're cutting out stuff that's in fine detail. And I am just reusing the same template, but I am just putting it on the other side of my polymer clay, and then I'm going to go around and cut out all the detail. I'm just doing this first to make sure I had enough before I started cutting out one and then realizing that I did not have enough for the second one. If you're liking this tutorial so far, please give it a big thumbs up, as it really does help me out. And I wanted to know, what shape would you guys make? So I'm going with my tropical leaf theme, but what shape would you do if you were making these earrings? And if you are new to my channel and you have not yet subscribed, please do so and ring the notifications bell, as I'd love to post more videos just like this one. The cutting out is probably the most time-consuming part of this whole process, but please take time to cut it out and try to stick to your template as much as possible, because that way you will get two of the same earring and they'll be nice and even. It is a little bit fiddly, but it is worth it in the end and will save you time later when you do have to come to sand it. Once you have your two earrings cut out, all you have to do is put your little holes in where your jump ring can go through. I've just used a kitchen skewer for this, as it made the perfect size hole. And you want to do this before you bake your earrings, because otherwise you will not be able to add this detail in once it has hardened and baked. When you are baking, you just need to follow your manufacturer's instructions. There are lots of different brands of the polymer clay and they all have different baking times. So just make sure you do follow the instructions, and do not think if you heat your oven up hotter that it will cut down the time. You will actually burn your polymer clay. You do need to follow the instructions for this. It's better to, make it take that extra 15 minutes than to burn your pieces. When cooking my polymer clay, I just put it on a piece of greaseproof paper and then I put it on a tray into the oven. Please note to not put any food items in the oven at the same time you are baking your clay, because that will not be good for your food items. And let your oven air out for an hour to 2 hours at least before you cook anything else, because you are working with a product that is not edible. I've pulled out my 2 items from the oven and I let them cool down, and now I'm just going along with some really fine grit sandpaper and taking off any sharp edges. As I said before, it's always best if you can use a cutter when you are creating your pieces, because you'll get a lot cleaner lines. But if not, you can use the other alternative like I did today, but you just need to make sure you go around the edges and just give them a really fine sanding, so that way you have a really beautiful finished piece. Now it's time to make the resin component of your earrings. I've got 2 silicone pendant molds in oval shapes. You can choose whatever shape you like when you are creating your earrings, and I'm just giving them a clean out with some alcohol spray, because I do use this mold quite a lot and I just wanted to make sure I had no dust or any dirt in it before I do my pour. This is a really important step to do if it's the first time you've used your mold, or if it's the 10th time, because they can have contaminants in them which can offset the resin. And the resin that I'm using today is Bee Queen by Barnes, and it is a polyurethane resin, so it is a tiny bit temperamental. So it is best to give everything you use with that resin a good clean beforehand with alcohol spray. I'm using an Archery gold pigment in my polyurethane resin, as I would love the top of my earrings to have a little gold piece to them. I'm just mixing that together. With this resin, it's equal parts, so as long as you've got equal amounts of both your hardener and your resin, you're going to get a pendant or earrings that will turn out perfectly every time. It just takes around 15 seconds to mix up and then pour it. It's a very fast setting resin, so you'll want to have it poured within 30 seconds of mixing your 2 parts together, and it should harden within 10 minutes. I bought most of my materials from Amazon, and I will leave a link in the description box below for where you can buy it. I do sell them on my Amazon account. I've just pulled my top pendants out of the mold, and that is why I love using a polyurethane resin, because they set so super fast. And then I've just getting a bit of super glue and I'm putting that on the back of both of my pendants, and then I'm going to add my stud backings to the tops of my resin pendants, which took about 5 minutes in total to harden. And then I'm going to add my jump rings. I should have bought a slightly bigger jump ring when working with this, but I didn't. I only had the smaller ones, so I just used 2 instead of 1, but it still worked out perfectly fine. But I do wish that I had a bigger jump ring when I did start this project. If you enjoyed this tutorial, why don't you give it a big thumbs up, as it really does help my channel out and lets me know to create more content like this for everyone. If you're new to my channel, please do subscribe, as I love to share more art and DIY projects like this.